Hey, I'm Michal, Senior Engineering Manager, and today we're tackling one of the most common debates in software development. Waterfall versus Scrum versus that weird hybrid we call ScrumFall. All of these are different ways to do project management. Imagine trying to plan a wedding without knowing what the bride or groom likes. That's what managing software development can feel like, especially when you're stuck between these three methodologies. So let's see which one helps you avoid disaster. The bottom line is we will go through Waterfall, Scrum and ScrumFall in details with in-depth explanations backed by years of experience. Let's start with the grandparent of them all, Waterfall. So Waterfall is like cooking a 5-course meal only to find out everyone already eaten after you serve the main dish. To be more serious, Waterfall was the most common way of delivering products for many years, and it's still how a lot of companies operate. You have this great big idea, you gather all the requirements, you prepare designs up front and then execute everything until it's done and perfect. You don't iterate on designs or delivery, you just stick to the plan because it's the perfect, well thought out solution. Sounds ideal, right? The problem is, by the time you ship your product, it's either obsolete, your users have moved on to the next big thing, or it was never a good idea to begin with. It's a method that makes you feel like you're doing everything right until you're not. According to data from internet, 90% of startups fail, and I would assume they have engineers, designers and product managers as good as anyone else. The reality is, not every idea is a good one, and you only find it out when it's too late. To be honest, Waterfall has its place, where we don't innovate, but execute or iterate. For example, when we deliver software for regulatory compliance, where requirements are set by law and unlikely to evolve during the project lifecycle. The other example may be the maintenance of the well-known project, where the scope is small and everyone understands where we are. The next one is Scrum. Scrum is basically the TikTok of product creation, quick, iterative, and if it flops, you can delete it and move on without anyone really noticing. Instead of planning for every possible scenario, you build something small, ship it, see if it sticks, and then build on top of that. Scrum is an iterative process where we try to validate our ideas as quickly as possible. It requires a mindset shift for everyone in the company, and I think that's the main reason why ScrumFall, which we'll talk about in a second, exists. One of Lex Fridman's podcast guests was Peter Levels. He's an entrepreneur and creator of multiple startups. He talked about his philosophy for building startups, which is a pretty spot-on example of what Scrum should be. The guy does everything himself, designs, code, logos, and ships product faster than you can say minimum viable product. Why? Because he doesn't have a budget, no VC funding or time to waste. And to be honest, neither should you. It's all about fast iterations, failing quickly and pivoting even faster. That's Scrum in a nutshell. As in most of my videos, trust within the team is crucial for success. It has to extend up in the chain, up to the management, where people can admit to failure without being afraid of consequences. Engineers have to trust that EMs and PMs will give them the time to do things properly once an idea is validated. We're doing R&D and validating ideas at the beginning, but if something is successful, we'll pause and redo it from scratch if necessary to ensure the final product is high quality and scalable. EMs and PMs have to trust their managers that it's okay to fail and spend 2 weeks or a month on something that turns out to be a wrong idea. What often happens is that instead of spending 2 weeks, we spend 6 months executing a bad idea. By the end, because we've invested so much time and effort, we pretend it was a good idea. We manipulate data to prove success, like saying 95% of users of a given feature are super happy, without mentioning that only 1% of people decided to use it in the first place. As you probably figured out, managers are often very skilled at managing up and presenting the reality in a way that's beneficial for them. So what's important is trust. Trust that it's okay to fail and that we're not afraid to say, this was a bad idea. Let's scrap it and start from scratch. So let's try a different analogy. Imagine cleaning your room. You know how much effort it takes to clean up to a certain level, let's say 70%. It might take you 2 hours to get it kinda clean with a vacuum cleaner. Now, if you want to bump that cleanness up to 90%, it might take you a week, as you super sanitize everything, use antibacterial gel on every surface and ensure no germs get in. Now, if you want to aim for 99.999 cleanness, you're looking at another 2 weeks or more of work. The point is, the incremental gain in cleanness requires exponentially more effort. Similarly, in software engineering, if we build a super polished final solution, instead of validating the idea with minimal cost, it takes much more time to achieve that perfection than it does to just test a 70% solution. I recall a podcast with the creator of TDD who went to Facebook. And he said that Facebook was killing so many projects anyway, that his project that he was working on was the slowest to be delivered because of super emphasis on quality, but it was killed off too. So was it worth it? Probably not. We should adopt a scrappy, as Peter Levels would say, mindset where we try to find answers as quickly and cheaply as possible. Don't be afraid to say we failed, don't be afraid to say, okay, it works, but now we need to build something more proper and better quality. So basically start anew. That's fine, but to do this we need trust in our managers and our peers that will have time to get it right. And then there is ScrumFall, the rebellious teenager of methodologies. It's like trying to be cool by combining the worst parts of both worlds. You pretend to be Scrum, but deep down you're still Waterfall at heart. You do all upfront planning, but then you deliver in iterations, convincing yourself you're being agile. Spoiler alert, you're not. It's still going to take forever to ship. I personally believe ScrumFall is better than Waterfall in most cases. You iterate on designs and product details, reduce scope or change small requirements to execute and deliver on time. But it still has Waterfall's biggest issue, the long time to validate the idea. The biggest struggle I have is to find the correct balance between certainty and innovation, and choose the best approach for a given project. So, what's the takeaway here? Whether your team Waterfall, Scrum or ScrumFall, remember this: no methodology can save you from a terrible idea, but it can help you figure that out before you waste a year building the next product no one really wants. And there is one more thing I'd like to say about trust. I know that I talk about this a lot, but I think it's worth mentioning that trust is earned. Managers shouldn't trust their direct reports because it is what we are expected to do and we hired the best people, right? As I said before, managers are great at managing up and presenting the reality in a way that suits them. So before I trust someone, I make sure they are trustworthy. If you found this video useful, hit that subscribe button and check out the video that algorithm thinks you will love next. Until then, keep iterating, keep failing, and keep deploying, and I will see you next time. Cheers!